Hey everybody, Scoutcrafter here again. Looks like snow today, but actually it's pretty warm. It's like 40 something degrees, so it's pretty nice out. Today we're going to talk about Shelton Tools. It's a tool manufacturing from Shelton, Connecticut. I think you're going to enjoy it. Let's check it out. Okay, today's project's really interesting. We've been dealing with a lot of Connecticut manufacturers lately. Now we're going to go to Shelton. Shelton Products was in Shelton, Connecticut. This here is a versatile screwdriver, and you could see here, before I start describing and show you how it works, it's got a little bit of shelf wear, our favorite term, so we're going to address that. But look at this beautiful tool set from Shelton. These were done in about the 50s, and again, before I talk about it, it's got corrosion that started, I guess this was stored in a garage or something, and anytime you have a non-climate controlled area, we get what we call garage grunge, which is, you could see here, it's well, it's almost like a corrosion, a starting corrosion. But one thing these all happened a lot of times is there used to be foam. There was a foam rubber up here. It has a little pamphlet that comes with it, but there was a foam rubber. You could see the remaining contact cement that always disintegrated on these things, so I'm going to replace this with some closed cell foam, put that up there. That'll keep all the tools intact, and we'll address each one of these tools. And now, years ago I bought this closed cell foam off of eBay for a project, a lining project or something. It comes in a roll here, as you can see, and it's about 20 inches wide, but this stuff is great. Now, how you want to cut it, it's really important that you have a sharp utility knife to use to cut, and I'm using the one from the from the kit that we're working on today, because that blade is brand new, never been used. And you got to square up one edge, so I just use a speed square over here, get the ruler nice, and steel ruler nice and straight, make sure it's straight, and then pressing down on it using the utility knife, you just give a good single cut straight down, and it does a nice job. And you can see it, nice clean cut. This stuff is real great, easy to work with. Okay, here we are at a post-wire brush evaluation. You can see we got off all the corrosion that was on there. Now we're going to take it over to the buffing wheel, and we did every tool, got all that off, so everything looks really nice. We didn't do this yet because we're going to do this with a fine steel wool, because this is chrome plated and we don't want to mess that up. So let's get over to the buffing wheel and hit some of these parts. Now you know my favorite part. Remember what they look like before we started. Okay, we're calling this project done. Now, here's the original Versa Tool screwdriver box, the original one that came in. And you can see it's these are very common. You find these around. This one here is one of the earlier ones that didn't have the ratcheting feature in the back handle here. But you could see here that how this operated was you would pull this out like this, and then you had your choice of 3 different screwdriver blades that you could pick. You would pick one that you wanted and put that in like this, and then retract the blade again, and you could use that as a screwdriver like this, using the knurling here to spin it. And they were pretty interesting. You know, these were kind of things that you would give to your parents or whatever for Christmas. But nice little tool. This was after they stopped making their planes, their wood planes and things like that. They went into these. Now here's the kit, how the kit came out. And it came out really nice. And it came with a nice Shelton card that, almost like a warranty cards would come. But it told you a little bit about how to use the tool, what came with the kit, and how to use the hex wrench set. And here we are. Now, some interesting history about the Levites family who owned Shelton Tools is that they started off making actually picnic baskets and things like that, and they went from there to making these wood block planes and regular woodworking planes, and they had a special kind of release for the blade, and they were very popular. But in 1954, they sold that part to Stanley, and then they still continue to make these kind of tools and unusual tools and things like that in Shelton, Connecticut, and that's where the name comes from. Now, what I did with here is I went over all the tools, and you could see here, this was about the most inexpensive tools that you can get from an American tool manufacturer, because soon after these kind of tools were made in the United States, they started importing them, because this was about, you know, these were given away as kind of giveaways at anniversaries and things like that, with tool companies would give them to their workers and things and so on. I thought this hammer was pretty interesting because the way the hammer is, it's kind of a curved shape on one side here and flattened on the other, but it's a nice looking handle and a nice looking hammer with the obviously the hex shaft going up, so that's pretty cool. This obviously, the utility knife, I put a little bit of extra work into, because that's the first thing you're going to see when you open it. So I painted in here so you could see that, and polished it up, took off all the corrosion, and so that came out real nice. It's always the first thing you're going to see when you open up the kit, so I wanted that to look nice. Over here to the right, we have a tape measure, 8-foot tape measurer, and now they must have hot stamped this with some kind of gold leafing, but I wasn't able to fix that up without messing it up. On this side here, this was another tool that they were kind of famous for. It's their 8-way hex wrench. And how it worked basically is, you could see all along the edges here were hex keys, and you could pull it out like this. You could remove it if you had to, and you had a small little hex key. But you can also use this as extended leverage by using this handle here for whatever you had to do, whether you're using it this way or whatever. But that was a kind of a novelty thing that they were known for, this 8-way hex wrench. Then you had your regular slip joint pliers that were made again. Shelton made a lot of these products themselves in-house. Some of them they bought elsewhere. But this was their signature product right here. And this is the same thing as the Versatool, the later ones. This is the ratcheting one. And how this worked is it had a little lever here that you can move up like this, down, and if you moved it in that position there, you could see it was for loosening. And if you wanted to move it up to that position, it was for tightening. And if you put it in the middle, again, that little knurling there, put that in the middle, that would lock it up, and you could use it for many different accessories that you had in the kit. Now, some of the accessories that you would have, you know, obviously you had your regular flat-bladed screwdrivers, you had your awls, you had your Phillips screwdriver, and you would just place this in here. It had a little hex a receptacle, and then you would place that in there, and you could use it like a ratcheting screwdriver here, and you could hear how the ratchet works. It wasn't a super fine ratchet, but it did work, and this was, you know, part of the kit. Now, again, this was the main part of the kit. If you want to use it as a socket driver, you would put this extension in here, and then take out one of your regular sockets here, and you could use it as like a nut driver, so using it that way. If you wanted to have some extra leverage, you could take one of the L hexes in here, put this on here, and you had a working, more or less, ratchet wrench, but without the ratcheting action, but it would give you a lot more leverage. What other feature you had here was you had a small nail puller here that you could put into here, and you could pry up nails or do anything like that, you know, with a small little puller. Again, this was a homeowner kit. It was not meant for, obviously, a shop or anything, but they would give these away, retirement parties, things like that, and they were very common years ago, although we don't see too many of them around anymore, especially a lot of the tools made their way into kitchen drawers and whatnot. The top came out real nice, put the foam in here, and that looks real nice, and it also works really good because when it goes down here and closes, everything you have to really push to hear it lock in, and now that's all solid. It won't get messed up, and you have to push that release button to open it. So that foam that closed cell foam worked really good. So in closing, we have the Shelton manufacturing company, tool company from Shelton, Connecticut. Vintage tool giveaway kit or tool homeowner kit. This particular model was called the Socket Tool Kit, and by Shelton. And hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thanks so much for tuning in. Take care and have a nice day.